Give me 1 second. I'm switching something. Hello. Forget who's Gold Links. Okay, there we go. What's up, Jeffrey? Haven't seen you in a while, or heard from you. I remember you, because I taught your brother too, right? Hey, Jalen. You missed review today. Obviously, we're having the test tomorrow. Um, projects are still due Friday. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'll make this nice and short, so I'm sure you guys all got your stuff. So everything on this page is one test. By the way, if you have your study guide with you at home, congratulations, here's all your answers. So it actually pays to watch the video. Um, just going through it, a lot of this is just repeat information with they slap Virginia on it or they change the name slightly. So let's start with 7C. This will be all one test, 7C and D. Why does the General Assembly, why do we have them? They're there to make laws. Why do they make laws? Right down here, they make laws in response to problems or issues. The same thing we had for national, shows up here again state, might see a question like that. How does a bill become a state law? It's the same exact thing. Introduce, committee, debate, vote. It repeats in each house, and then instead of the president, it's the governor who signs it. All we changed was the names here. Instead of it being Congress, it's General Assembly. You guys have already taken a test on this. You guys have already done it. It's just basically they changed a little bit of the names. The one thing that's going to be different that you're going to be tested on is this part down here. What are the primary issues for the states? So we've got education. It's pretty much anything around schools. Yeah, it's pretty much education. They're the ones in charge of it. That's why you take SOLs. If you go to Florida, you take FCATs. Each state is in charge of its education, different state tests and things, and different standards. Public health, that's like making sure what kind of programs we have here. Even though Obamacare is a national program, each state has a different type of insurance policy or an insurance healthcare program that you can sign up for. If they're, it has a different amount of options. It's not the same across every state. And again, they tell local what to do. So, in a way, they're also in charge of like your police. There's Virginia State Police, obviously, and your firefighters, your ambulance crews, all that, because they can help appropriate the funds that are going to go towards those. Environment, making sure that we have clean water, that type of stuff. You see the example here is making sure the water quality in the Chesapeake Bay is clean, making sure that we're not chopping down all our trees, things like that. The budget, approving a biennial budget means it's good for 2 years. And then our revenue, that's the fact that they have the power to collect taxes. Oh, what's up, Alan? I haven't seen you in a while either. So that's half of the first test. Second half is going to be governor. The role of the governor is enforce the law, just like the president. He has a couple different roles. So chief of state, same thing. This is where he's like trying to look good, giving out medals, attending ceremonies, things like that. Chief legislator, this is when he's dealing with the General Assembly. So because we're talking about state, he's going to be dealing with General Assembly. With the president, it was Congress. Here, it's General Assembly, chief legislator. I'll come back to that one. Party chief, this is where he's dealing with his political party. He might attend a dinner for Democrats or Republicans or whatever to help out his other party mates. Commander-in-chief, you're going to see something about the National Guard. He's not in charge of our military. That's the president's prerogative. But when there's like a hurricane or an earthquake or something, and like they want to stop looting or they just want to help people get to safety, the governor has the right to call the National Guard. The one I skipped over, chief administrator, that's just the state version of chief executive. Literally, they just changed that from executive to administrator. And that's when he's enforcing the law. That's when he's appointing people to his cabinet. Basically doing all these things down here would be chief administrator. It even says administer laws right there, chief administrator. One test question. So you guys, this will be a bonus for you guys who watched it. That I know kids struggle on. As they're going to ask you something like, it's not going to just say governor, but who makes sure that laws are being enforced or provides services? Now, if governor's not there, they're looking for what can you pick as the next best answer. His cabinet secretaries, departments, agencies, commissions, and regulatory boards. Now, we didn't go over that mainly. We just focused on the cabinet. But think of the departments, agencies, commissions. They're just like an extension of the cabinet. So like if I was doing a national one, he has somebody that's in charge of the FDA, which is in charge of Food and Drug Administration. And the Food and Drug Administration that has like even smaller branches inside of it where people are in charge of dairy products, where people are in charge of meat products. That's what it's saying here, is that all these people are helping him do his job of enforcing state laws. I know this is a question that they struggle with. So essentially, if you see this grouping, this is what they're doing. They're just helping him do his job. They're enforcing the laws. They're helping make sure the services are provided, like making sure that we have police, firefighters, that our schools are getting adequate funding, that we're encouraging business to thrive in Virginia, and so on. So that's pretty much the first test. It's a lot of repeat from when we did national and the branches there. It's just they slapped a state name on everything. Okay? I'm going to move on to the next one. Oh, what's up, Daniel? You have Alan, I guess you live near him or something, probably. No, I'm probably not going to do Kahoot, by the way. Alright, so here's the other test, local government. Okay, and again, if you're watching, easy study guide answers, right? So you can double check your work, go through it, and all that stuff. This one I made sure I did when we were doing our review games today. Local governments are created by the General Assembly. Now, the General Assembly is the state legislative. So we already knew state tells local what to do. This is just being a bit more specific. The General Assembly represents the state, and in that way they can tell local governments what to do. It's really a semantics answer, you could argue, meaning like, okay, well, I knew states tell local what to do. Why are you making me say General Assembly? That's what they want you guys to get, is that the General Assembly is the one who's in charge of bills, and they're the ones who are making the law, so they can make the counties. If you were talking to me and you told me that the states tell local what to do, I'd be really happy. I'd like, all right, you get it. But I'm just telling you that they want you to go a little bit, one step further and understand that it's the legislative branch that's in charge of it. They all have their branches. You're going to have to know that the three types of localities, three types of local governments are counties, towns, and cities. If you have your chart that you should in class, this should all be pretty simple. So the county legislative is the Board of Supervisors. They're in charge of enacting, fancy way of saying make, ordinances. Ordinances is a local law. That's a test question. I'm going to ask you, what is a local law? Ordinance. Simple answer. To the annual budget, I might ask you a question, for instance, like, who is in charge of overseeing schools and like making sure they're doing what they're supposed to? It's a really hard one there. It says school board, because it has school in it. Then we get to town and city. They're the same. I mean, literally, it's word for word, same thing, guys. So this one says town council. This one says city council. They both have the same executive. They both have a council next to them for legislative. So the legislative branch, town council, legislative branch, city council. They have the same exact executive branch member called the mayor. Again, his job is to enforce ordinances. Their job is to make ordinances. Notice I'm not saying law anymore. I'm saying ordinance because that's what we call local law. I'm not doing Kahoot because I'm not. That's pretty much the answer. It is possible to have a manager for a county. So like if a county, usually from what I've seen, and I'm not going to say this is factual, but from what I've seen, usually it's when a county's like, oh crap, we screwed up. Like, man, we're in trouble financially or something like that. So they'll hire a manager to come in and kind of help fix the problems, cut through the red tape, and be able to, like, okay, let's get this, and this done and get us back to normal. So it's optional for a county to have a manager. That would be the executive branch for county. Again, you need to know that there's a court system. We're not going to get into this until we actually get to the court, so there you go. Some of you struggle with this one today. The Virginia court or Virginia Constitution requires that you have these 4 elected. I know from seeing all this happen in the past, when you see that word elect, you immediately go to mayor. Not town council, not board of supervisors, even though they're all elected. For whatever reason, you just want to scream out mayor. So they have 4 elected positions they gotta have: sheriff, police, clerk of circuit court. We already talked about that, as help managing the courts and make sure everything's set up and where it needs to be. Commissioner of revenue, fancy way of saying tax collector position, and treasurer, managing the budget. Now, I'm being overly simplistic on this. There's much more detail to all these jobs I'm sure I could go into. I'm trying to give you a visual image to kind of stick into your head. So sheriff against police, clerk of circuit court, says court in the name, so you're going to be dealing with the courts. Commissioner of revenue, tax revenue, collecting the money for the state, in charge of all that stuff. And our treasurer is going to be budgeting the money. Questions? I think there's like 10 each. And I'm not doing Quizlet either, Alicia. Guys, all you got to do is literally type in Quizlet and then type in, look at this. Type in Unit 8 Local Government Civics. It'll come up. I'm just going through this, to get you guys ready. I'll do a bigger one when I think it's a harder one. I think you guys will be fine on this. What the local government is in charge of? I think the test question. I think what I give you is a bunch of random things, and 3 of these are on there. And so levy and collect taxes. Levy is just a fancy way of saying giving you taxes. Regulate land use. We talked about that. That's where, like this area is residential. This area is for business. That sort of stuff. Protect the environment, educate children, public health, safety, enforce state and local laws. It's pretty obvious. I'm going to give you a bunch of these. You're going to have to pick 3. It'll say, like, for instance, one option that's a wrong answer choice might be something like make foreign policy, which is national. So your job's going to be to pick the 3 that are local. So just think about it. If it affects more than just your community, there's no way it can be local. All right. Here we see again, authority of local governments from Virginia is derived from the state. Describes a fancy way of saying like taken from. So local governments, get all their powers from the state government or state constitution. Again, Constitution, Acts of General Assembly. We've already gone over that a little bit, like over here. Cities have charters. Charters essentially, like, think of it as like a local constitution, listing their powers. It's like that tells the cities what they can and can't do. Again, just like the Virginia Constitution tells Virginia what it can and can't do, just like the Constitution tells the United States government what it can and can't do. We're going to talk about ordinances. People should participate. All that fun stuff. So anyways, that's pretty much your tests in a nutshell there. Chase did a picture of a bank. I don't know why. I think Alicia's upset that we're not doing Quizlet. Otherwise, you guys got any questions for me? I tried to keep this one pretty short. That way, wouldn't be that long for you guys to look over it. On this test, if you're going to mess up, you'll mess up here. You'll forget one of these, possibly. Or you won't be able to remember these. And I think I do make it to where you have to pick these out. I have no drink in front of me. I am not sipping anything. But good guess. Any other questions? It is quiet. All right. Well, I wish you all the best of luck. Study. Oh, I guess if I was telling you for local, you guys might forget these. again, please don't mix this up with mayor. This one might be a little tough where I tell you to pick like, I think it's like 3 of these out. You just have to know they're associated with local. Again, the trick is just thinking about your community, you know, your local area. If it sounds like it's too big, like you don't hear about Woodbridge making a treaty with France, because that just doesn't make sense. This one's just look at your chart. I mean, literally we filled it in and made it to where you could just put your finger on your paper and point to it. That way you would know. Your SOL looks like it's going to be at the end of April. So you'll have your writing SOL coming up in March, and then I'm the next one up. I'll be the first SOL of that bunch. Yeah, it's coming, guys. Any other questions? All right. Well, you guys have a good night. Try to finish your study, guys. That's my best advice if you didn't do it already. If you want to, do it without looking at the video for the answers first, and then if you're stuck, you can always check over on here to get the answers. My day was just fine, and for whatever reason, milk. Okay. So yeah, we'll be taking 2 tests tomorrow. Like I told you, then you're gonna be playing that game on iCivics after that called Counties Work. And then we have the assembly on Friday, and Friday we'll be taking a tour of all of our different cities and towns and counties that you guys have made. So, good luck. Have a good night. Alicia's admitting to murder, and good night.